Hello everyone and welcome to Jam 2 of Android Study Jams. My name is Hardik and I'm a second year student here at Manipal University Jaipur and I'm the facilitator for this program. So before actually starting off with today's jams, I just want to basically recap our previous jam in order to let the people know who are joining in for the first time. So what are Android Study Jams exactly? So Android study jams are basically community organized study groups which are handled by developer student clubs and are made for people to learn how to build Android apps using an online training course which is directly provided and created by Google and has course content on Kotlin basics and on techniques which are used in order to build Android apps. So in order to actually start off the jams, what we so in these jams, we actually have two tracks, which the first one is the new to programming track, and the second one is the prior programming experience track. So in order to access these tracks, what you can do is just visit this website, which is g.co/android/study jams, which is the landing page for our jams. Now, herein you will see there are two tracks, which is first one being the new to programming, and the second one, as I said, the programming experience. So, in the new to programming track, we have course content on basic Kotlin, which will help you get started with the basics of Android app development as well. Whereas in the prior experience track, we have much more in-depth course content on Kotlin regarding the programming fundamentals, and it goes well in depth regarding Android app development techniques as well. Now, apart from this, if you are going to attempt the prior programming experience track and you are going to complete it, you will be provided a certificate of completion, which is going to look similar to this. And whereas for both of the tracks, actually you have like super cool badges to earn, which you can show off here at your Google developer profile. Now do note that this profile is visible at this link, which is google.dev/u/me, wherein you will be signing in with your Google account, and this is the place where your badges and everything will be displayed as so when you complete the code labs and take the quizzes which are part of the tracks. Now, let's actually start off with today's jam, which is going to be about material components and basics of Git and usage of Git. So material component, or let's start off by talking about material design, is basically a set of guidelines which Google created when they launched Android Lollipop back in, I guess it was 2015. So uh, so material design, as we all and see everywhere, is a bunch of guidelines and has multiple components which we can use readily in our Android apps. So this is the actual website for material design, which is material.io. And here in under the component section, as you can see, we have like different sorts of views and everything which we can use in our layouts in order to create great looking apps. So and now let's actually switch over to Android Studio. And here I've created a sample app to like showcase the differences which exist between our traditional components, which we directly add using our palette, which is like this part wherein you could just drag and drop the views in your Android app layout. Now, so let's actually start off by running this app. So I'll hit on run and just give me a minute. So I'll start by sharing my screen. So let me share my screen now. Yeah. So this right here is the sample app which is running on my device. So let's start off by talking about the text views. Now in reality, like there isn't like much of a difference between the traditional text views or the material text views, but this is like as you can see, like super similar. Now coming away from textures, let's actually have a look on buttons. So this is what our traditional button now will look like if you will add it from the palette here. Whereas this is the material component button. Now this material component button actually has a style over it, which is known as the outline style. So if you'll see the source code writer, what I've done is basically applied a style which is the material components dot button dot outline button, which is why as you can see it has this like outline button kind of look, which is basically like light in the center and has a grayish outline to it. Now this style actually is now kind of like you can just copy it over and paste it over a traditional button. So if you'll see, this actually looks more to the material components right here. So Yeah, so that is about the style part for the buttons. Even now in material components, you can also like directly include like some sort of icons and everything. Whereas previously, like in traditional buttons, you were not able to. But you are actually like in current reality, you can actually have icons in your traditional buttons as well. But so let's actually now have a look at our switches. So if you will notice on the left hand side where the traditional switches are, the circle part, or which we actually call at as a thumb part, is like a bit darker in color, whereas on the material side of things it is like a bit lighter and looks like more modern in talking about the design sense. So like these things are like these little things are actually what actually differentiate between the traditional component and the material components, because material components are actually made more in order to like give the look and feel of a more modern design when it comes to like material design guidelines or in general. So yeah, so that is about the switches part. So then again, like not a huge lot of difference when it comes to the actual views. Now let's actually have a look at the this card view right here. So if you notice on the left hand side on my traditional card view, like this is like just a plain and simple box, whereas on the right hand side I actually have a stroke, which is like this purple part on my material card right here. So this is actually like where material and the traditional components actually have a quite like some sort of difference, pointable difference. So in the traditional card, you are not able to actually like provide any sort of like a boundary or any sort of like boundary color to it. Whereas on a newer like the material card layout, you can actually like just set a stroke color and a stroke width to it, like just as I've done it. So this is again like a basic differentiating factor between the traditional and the material component view. Like in general, like for most of the part, material components are actually very similar to our traditional views, whereas the only department in which they like look more better, like in which they are actually differentiable, is like when it comes to the visual part, wherein they look much more modern and cleaner and give off a cleaner aesthetic in your overall app layout. So this final thing which I want to talk about is the traditional like text field and new material text field. So traditionally, you like we have been using this like text field, right? Like let's say I just want to type something, I'll just try and randomly put characters in here. So yeah, so we all have seen it. Like this is what a traditional like text field looks like. Whereas a new modern actually has like a cleaner like appearance and a more clean aesthetic and animation to it. Like let's say as soon as I'll like just click on it, as you can just saw, like the material part actually like scaled up like and animated, so which actually gives us a much cleaner aesthetic and looks more modern. So yeah, so this was like, so this in general is actually a super basic difference between our traditional components and the material components which we use. Now, if you have actually created a sample projects like in recent time, saying about a month or and a half, these material components have actually been a part of the sample templates in Android Studio. Like this is the actual implementation of the library which you'll have to add, which is the com.google.android.material part. So this is what actually includes the material components in your Android app. Now, also what you can do is go ahead and change your traditional like views or anything to the newer material components to it, for which there is actually a very nice blog post on the material.io website, which I'll link in the resources folder on our FAQ document. But for now, let's actually start off and talk about Git. So let's actually wait. I'll switch to my window. Let's close it from here. So yeah. So let's talk about like a practical situation. So let's say I'm working on an Android app. Wait, so talking about an Android app, let's just go ahead and create a new project. So I'll hit new and create a new project. Choose the empty activity template, then hit on next and provide it some name, like I'll just say sample app, or maybe like git tests. Yes, that's better actually. And I have my save location decided already, and I'll hit on finish. So now that we wait for it to load up, let's actually talk about a practical situation. So let's say you are working on an Android app, which we have in front of us. So now we all know that like most of the apps have multiple features in them, and if you've been developing or programming something, you know that in order to implement a feature, you need to edit like multiple files and everything. So while like actually implementing a feature where you are like editing some multiple files, you actually increase the chances of encountering a bug or some sort of error in your overall project. So let's actually, first of all, let me create a close of this project and actually just talk about this one right here. Yeah. So this is my project right here. So let's just theoretically like think of like, let's say this is my project, and everything in this is flawless. Like I just finished implementing a project, and I just uh, like, yeah, so this is like flawless and everything, and I wanted to start off by creating my and implementing my next set of features. So traditionally, like I'm pretty sure like most of us have done what which is like just open the project folder, and what we have been doing is basically just copying this, and like, let's say I just wanted to save it somewhere safe. I'll just save it and rename it to something like git test save one and something like that, like basically like saving our project directory in order to access it later at some point of time if our like if our project gets messed up or our codes like stops working abruptly. So yeah, so now that I've actually created a save, like let's say now I've been working on this, like I've been writing code and everything, but I've encountered a stage where like there are a lot of bugs in my app, and I don't want to continue like working on them, and I just wanted to roll back us to a situation where my project was flawless. So what am I going to do? I'll just go ahead and reuse the save folder which I had, which I actually saved previously, and I'm pretty sure like most of us have done that, whether it be like in comparison to any other files as well, any other sort of files. So now just to give an overview as to what we did and what we have been doing is that we created a save state which from which will probably like roll back if any sort of thing like did not end up working out. Now, this is actually where Git comes in. So Git as a software, if I open the page right here, so Git as a software, what it does is basically keep a track of all the changes you make in comparison to provided state. So let's say you have like, just in our example, like we have our current project which we just saved. Now what Git will basically do is keep a track of all the changes we are going to make inside of that once we have defined our initial stage. And this concept actually is known as version control. So now that we have talked about what Git and like project saving and everything, so basically Git is a version control system. Yeah. So now let's consider another situation, basically a more realistic one, let's say. So let's say you and your friend, or maybe like a bunch of different people, are actually working on a simple app. So like I have my current project writer, and I'm working on this with my friends. Like let's say I'm working on the layout part, and my friend is working on the backend or the code part. And we have assigned like tasks to everyone. So what we'll be doing is like all like, as I just said, working on different sorts of files and everything. So this is what we called it as collaborative programming as well. So in that case, since we'll be working on separate machines, and we'll be writing like different codes and editing like different files right in different formats, so there needs to be a way where everyone can like collaboratively work on a project and keep a track of all the changes we are going to make in our project. So this is actually where github.com enters. So if I'll just go ahead and open github.com, yeah. So GitHub is basically a website which uses the use of Git and like collaborative programming. And this is the basic page of github.com, which you will also be seeing once you have logged in with your profile. So the center part is like not of much important. It just basically shows whatever sort of activity is going on regarding to your account. Whereas on the top right corner is where the important part resides. So clicking on this like plus button, we'll be seeing a bunch of options. One of which is the new repository, like import repository, gist, and organization, everything. So what we are interested in right now is the new repository part. So consider a repository to be basically be a store where you will be putting all your project files and everything. So this repository is going to be created on github.com. And so let's say I want to provide it as a name. Let's say I'll just name it demo study jam. Yeah. And I'll provide an optional description as well, saying like Git basics study jam, something like that. Yeah. So you can just have whatever name you want, whatever description you want. Now, in this part, so this is actually this public and private, as we see, is actually the visibility of our project. So let's say you set your project to be, or your repository to be public. Now what happens is like if anyone is going to like visit your profile, they'll be able to see what all files and everything you have inside your repository. So if I'm going to like, let's say, define this demo study jam repository as public, anyone who's going to visit my profile will be able to see what all files and changes I've been making to my repository right here. Whereas contrary to that, if I set my repository to be private, no one would be able to see except for me, and the people whom I'm going to provide explicit access to are going to be able to see what all changes and files exist in my repository. So now that I've like chosen to be public, let's just click on create repository. Now these three options, like they are not of much importance for us right now, so we'll just skip that and hit create repository. So yeah, so now that we have created an empty repository, which is basically, as I said, an empty store for our project files, let's see how we can now use Git in order to manage our projects. So again, what I'll do is just open my project in file manager. And now that I open it, what you need to do is, first of all, hit shift and click and right click. Now in your option, it will probably say something like open in PowerShell window here, or maybe open in command prompt, depending on like what's your operating system and anything. So for me, as it is saying open in terminal, I'll just hit on open in terminal. And what this will do is basically open a new like PowerShell, or in my case, the terminal window inside this project. Alternatively, what you can do is like manually open your terminal and like choose to go to you directly using the cd command, which exists on basically all platforms. But for now, let's just stick to our already open window. So yeah, now once we are in it, let's see what operation we are going to use. So in order to basically like start using Git and make notable changes, we first need to tell Git as to what we first need to actually like tell Git in order to try like start tracking changes inside a folder. So I'll first of all like close this window, which I don't need. So even right now, if I'm going to like, let's say some sort of Git command, I'm going to like git add dash all or anything, like it will give us an error saying like fatal not a Git repository, because our project folder is not actually marked as a Git repository. So Git does not know as to what to do with it. So for that, what we do is like I'll open our Git cheat sheet. So for that, what we do is yeah, so what that we use the git init command. So as soon as you'll execute it, it will basically create an empty repository in your project folder, and Git will start tracking all the changes you make in it. Now, since our project right here is already empty, so as you can see, we have an empty repository, which means we have an empty store here in online. So the first thing which we need to do is basically like push, which is like send all of our project files over to github.com, over to the repository we have online. So yeah. So before doing that, let's actually start by configuring our IDs. So let's say you just so let's say you created your GitHub profile. Now the next thing what you'll have to do is tell Git about your username and your email address. So for that, we use the git config command. I'll just go ahead and copy this from the GitHub cheat sheet, and I'll paste it here. So now after user.name part, what you need to do is in a set of double quotes, you'll have to provide your username, which you have on GitHub. So mine is this right here. So I'll just go ahead and write that. And after that, once that is written, you need to do the same thing with your email address. So I'll just copy that command from there and configure my email address as well. So mine is like this, which I use in my GitHub profile. So I'll just hit enter. Yeah. Now again, just make sure to use the correct email address and the correct username which you have used in order to sign up for a GitHub profile, or you'll like see some sort of weird commits existing in your project and your repository. So yeah. Now that we have done that, let's actually start off by talking about what staging and commit. Now, as I said, we can consider our repository basically as a store where our files are going to exist. Now, even in reality, in order to we need to send something somewhere. Well, we have a protocol, right? So wherein we first wrap our items inside a bundle and attach proper details to it, and then it is actually when you send it. The same concept actually applies to Git and committing. Now, since my repository is empty, which means I need to send all of my project files over to it, what we do is, first of all, we need to start off by creating our bundle, which actually in technical terms, we call it as a commit. So in order to add all my files, existing files inside that bundle or that commit, what we do is use the git add command. So I'll go ahead and write git space add. And after that, since I need to add like all of my existing files, so I'll just provide the argument, which is dash dash all. So what this will do is like take all of my files and like put it inside the commit, or which is going to be synonymous to a bundle. So what we just did is basically like take all of our files and put it in a commit. Yeah. So now in order to see as to what all like the current status of our project, we can use the command, which is git status. I'll first of all, like, let me actually increase the font size of this a bit so you all can see better. Yeah, so I just execute the command git commit, and as you can see, it tags all of our files as a new file because we just initialized our project. So as you can see, it has all my new file, like the build.gradle file, settings and themes and everything. So now that I've added all my files, let's actually start off by preparing a bundle in order to send it. So in order to wrap it up or like create a commit, what we do is use the command which is known as git commit. Now, git commit, as I said, is synonymous to like wrapping up a bundle. And in order to like attach actual details on it, like give it like a message or like provide a commit message, what you do is you write -m followed by a git commit command. And in a set of double quotes, we write a commit message. So commit message can be anything which you want to write, but for like future purpose and just to keep a good practice, we tend to like we need to make it as a habit to like create commit messages which are meaningful. So since we are initializing our project, what I can write is like init, which is the short form for initialize, or I could just go ahead and write initialize as a whole. It is going to be more useful. Now after that, I'll just press enter, and as soon as I print press enter, as you can see, it just gave me a summary as to what all changes that commit had. So like I had all my files added, so it says create. Yeah. So so yeah. So now that which is done, let's actually see how we can send off a commit to our actual repository right here. So if you'll be creating a empty, like a blank repository, you'll be seeing this command right here, which is say git remote add origin and followed by your repository link. So I'll just copy this and execute this right here in my terminal. So now what we basically did is actually set up like told Git about the URL on which we are going to upload our project and basically have or manage our repository. Now after that, you also have this command which is git push -u origin. Yeah, so I'll just change main to master, which I'll talk about a bit later. Yeah. So git push is actually synonymous to the process of actually sending off a bundle to your store. And whereas the origin part, as you saw right, we said git remote add origin. So we told that our origin is going to be this link right here, which is our repository link. Now origin is also synonymous to our store or a store address, whereas master is actually the name of the branch. Now, branches are a different topic, which I won't be talking about as of right now, but we'll see if I can cover that in another jam. So yeah, so for now, I'll just try to git push dash u origin and master and hit enter. So now if it's all correct, it will ask for your ID password. So I'll write in my ID and my password right here. Now, yeah, so what it just did is basically push off all my files over to my repository. So if I just go ahead and refresh this page, yeah, as you can see, now all my files are being displayed here in my repository. So let's see what other things which we can do. I'll just move ahead this in a new window. Yeah. So let's say we have a situation where we need to implement some sort of feature and thing. So let's say what I need to do is basically add a button to the center of this layout and create an on-click listener to it to show a toast message whenever I click on this button. So I'll first of all go start off by deleting our text view, and then what I'll do is like drag off this button view and place it off at the center of this layout. Now what I'm going to do is like set the constraints in order to place it at the center. And yeah, so just like that, what we have just did is basically add a button in the center of our layout. So now that we have a button writer, let's give it a meaningful ID. So let's say I just want to give it like button main. So I just gave it the ID, which is titled as button main. I'll hit enter. And in our main activity.kt file, let's start off by creating a reference of that button and setting off the on-click listener. So now what I'll do is write val button or maybe button, whatever you want to write, followed by my find view by ID, which is the function which we use to find a reference of our views and to use them. So the type is going to be button as we just added, and the IDs as we provided through r.id. Button wait yeah so button main. So now our variable btn or the button variable actually has a reference of this button writer which we just added in our layout. So let's actually add our on-click listener to it. So for that, what you do is write your variable name followed by a dot, and then what you do is write set on-click listener. It will auto-complete it for you, and as soon as it'll enter, what you need to do is basically define a code block which will be executed when the user taps on this button right here. So since I want to like show a toast message, so what I'll do is use the line toast dot make text, pass it the application context, provide some sort of thing like I just want to DSC study jam, and I'll like set the length to be a longer one in duration, and I'll just show it. So now let's actually start off by like, execute this. Let me share my screen real quick. Yeah, now as you can see, this is my device screen right here, and I'll hit on run. And this will like start off the complete compilation process and the Gradle build running and everything. So yeah, let's just give it a minute. So now it's going to install it. Yeah, so as you can see, this is a button writer which we added, and as soon as I'll click on it, it will print DS. It will show a DSC study jam as a toast message. So consider like this is basically like synonymous to a feature which I'm going to implement in my app. So like as you can see, all the changes I did, like adding a button, setting off the on-click listener code and everything. So let's say I just did it. Now what I need to do is like track all these changes and push them off on my GitHub repository, which is writer as a commit. So just as last time, what I'm going to do is write git add, and now wait, first of all, if I'll show you the status of the project, yeah, before adding. So now, as you can see, the GitHub actually, the Git software actually tracked that two of the files in our project were modified. So the activity main.xml file was modified when we added our button in our layout, and our main activity.kt file was modified when we wrote the actual set on click listener code for it. So let's say I want to push off like two separate comments, one where I'm going to tell that I changed my layout, and the second one where I modified my Kotlin file. So for that, what you can do is just write git space add. Now the one great thing in git is actually you don't need to like place like all the exact path of this. What you can just do is like just partially write the names. So like since I want to write this activity underscore main, I'll just write ACTI and hit on tab. And as soon as I hit on tab, it will just auto complete the whole path for my file. So now once that is written, I'll just press enter. And again, if I'll go ahead and show you the status of our project. So now, as you can see, it says the changes to be under the changes to be committed section says that activity underscore main.xml is ready to be committed. Whereas since I did not add my main activity.kt file, that file won't be committed if I created a commit right now, which is what I'm going to do as of right now. So in order to create a commit, I'll just write again git commit followed by -m for my message. Now let's give it a meaningful message. Like let's say I want to write add a button in layout. Yeah, so I'll just try that, hit enter. And now I'll just push it to GitHub by writing git space push. Now it will ask for identification. And once that's done, if you'll just see right here, if I refresh the page, yeah, so now we have 2 commits in our project, and as you can see, the latest commit what we did is basically adding a button in our layout, which is highlighted on the top of the page. Now let's actually commit our main activity.kt file as well. So if I'll just do git status, it will say our main activity.kt file has not been committed yet. So I'll do that again. I'll write autocomplete it, git commit -m, give it a meaningful message again, like create code for on-click listener for button, something like that. Hit enter and push that commit as well. So I'll just write this, and yeah. So now I've pushed my last remaining file as well. Now I'll go ahead and hit refresh. And now, as you can see, it again says like our latest commit, which is going to be the create code for on-click listener for button. So talking about this, you can actually like hit on this part right away. It shows the total count of commits. So this is going to show list out the history for your project. Like the first commit which we did was basically the initialized one. The second commit which we had was the add button in layout, and the third one was the on-click listener. Even you could just click on these links, these titles, and it will just give a summary as to what all changes were made. So like right here, I added this line for defining the button and the on-click listener. So these are highlighted in green, as you can see. Whereas if I'll just go ahead to my add button and layout commit, as you can see, there are actually lines which are highlighted in red because since we deleted our existing text view, which right here, as you can see, are highlighted in red, we are in like, yeah. So that is like the basic use case of Git in order to manage your project. Now, Git actually has like a different system where you can create multiple branches in order to collaboratively work on projects and everything. But we'll stop here and actually let's see if we and start off with the Q&A session. Yes, so what I've done is basically created a GitHub case. So let me show you all exactly what I did. So everything, even the sample code which I showed for the material components layout, I've actually created a GitHub repository for which I'll send the link in the group. And I've also created this README sort of file, which basically has the summary for everything we talked about regarding Kotlin basics in our last chat. So I'll also be sharing a link to this if any one of you like just wants to reference it or anything. So I'm unable to do USB debugging. Can you please help me? Okay, Saksham. What problem are you facing exactly? Like, can you tell a bit more detailed? If it's possible for you, you can actually just like unmute yourself and like tell me about it if it's comfortable for you.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes.
हाँ.
Yes.
Actually, phone में तो USB debugging हो रहा है, but in laptop it is showing loading devices from past few hours.
At this, like यहाँ पे, loading devices.
Yes. Over here only. I also have OnePlus Nord,
Okay.
so I am not able to identify what's the problem.
So like wait, I'll share my device's screen writer. I'll show you what exactly you need to do in order to connect USB debugging, since we actually have the same model. So wait,
Yes.
just give me a minute. I hope it's visible now. Yeah.
Yes, it's visible.
So what I'm going to do is like I've disconnected my phone from my laptop and everything. So what I'm going to do right now is connect my device using the USB cable. Now, as soon as you will plug it in the status bar, like as you can see, it says USB debugging connected. And
Yes.
the next thing what you need to do is basically like change this, like tap on this charging the device via USB to file transfer mode. So this is
Just
like a lot of times what like on charging mode only it like prevents you from transferring any form of code over USB. So changing it to file transfer actually like removes that limitation. So even
okay.
on like now on Android Studio, you'll probably you should be actually able to see your device. So
Just I will try.
yeah. So as you can see, it shows again. So if you have like any other issue, you can just let us know in the even in the WhatsApp group as well.
Hello, Bhaiya.
Hello.
Hello.
Huh.
In the course new to programming, it says we need to download a virtual emulator. And is it compulsory to do it, or we can just connect the
No,
Android
it's
device
not
and
compulsory at all. Like if you actually have a physical Android device on which you can test, like it's actually recommended to use that physical device you have instead of like creating an emulator and everything. Emulator is just there for people who don't have access to a physical device or are unable to like test their apps on the physical device itself. So yeah, so it is actually recommended to use the physical device instead of the Android emulator which is present in the Android Studio.